Hello everyone. I hope that you are doing well. I missed sharing videos last week since my daughters were on spring break. I was spending time with them, so I didn't get to share any videos. Today's video is going to be sharing about the decks and other journals slash projects I'm working on in April. And I might, if the video doesn't get too long, just recap the decks I used in March. So first I'll start with the decks I am planning to use for April. And as I mentioned, maybe if you have been watching my monthly favorites or monthly videos, I mentioned that I have 5 of the Ciro Marchetti decks that I purchased, and every month I've been using one of them. Last month I used the Tarot of Dreams and I really enjoyed it. And this month I'm going to be using the Legacy of the Divine. Let me see. Sorry about that camera angle. I'm going to be using the Legacy of the Divine Tarot. I'm really excited to dive into this guidebook, to read the story that Ciro is sharing about the cards. I haven't started working with the deck. I've been meaning to look through the cards and put them in order and do some other things to bond with the deck. I was recently watching Danny Mystic's series on how to bond with the deck, and she mentioned an exercise that she learned from the Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud. I have that deck as well, and basically the exercise is to look through the cards and separate them into 3 piles. A pile that is your favorite, a pile that is your least favorite, and a pile that is that you're kind of indifferent about or that you don't care for too much. And so I want to do that with this deck. I did that with another deck this month after watching her video, and I think it's a really great way to bond and get to know your deck. So I'll link her video where she mentions that in the, or maybe if she has like a playlist, I'll link her channel and her playlist. Anyway, I've been talking over here and not really mentioning the cards. So these ones, they kind of have that same look that all the Ciro Marchetti decks have, but they are pretty different compared to the Grand Lux Tarot and the Tarot of Dreams, which are the other 2 I've used. So I'm excited to get to know these ones. They have this really large border where the picture kind of fades into the border. I don't know how I feel about that yet, but I feel like I don't mind it. And it was actually one of the things that I liked about the Legacy of the Divine Tarot. So this one kind of looks like the Ace of Swords in the Tarot of Dreams. So this will be my main tarot deck for this month, and I will share how I get along with it afterwards. And then for Oracle decks, the 2 that I picked, I wouldn't say they're like a perfect companion for the Legacy of the Divine Tarot, but I mostly picked them because they're new in my collection and I wanted to get to know them. So this is the Roots and Wings Oracle deck, and I purchased this one from someone who was selling it, a used version, on Instagram. So it came in this pouch and in this box, and I had I was considering buying it. The creator has or had at the time a discounted price on the mini decks because there were some damages to the cards. that's another good way to get decks for a little less money than normal, is when creators sell damaged copies. So I didn't end up purchasing that one, but then when I saw this person was selling this deck, I ended up getting this one, as well as the let me pull it here, the Next World Tarot. I am not going to be using this deck this month, I don't think, unless I feel like pulling it out. So I have already been using this deck and just pulling a few cards here and there. So I'll just show you a few of the cards. This is the back of the cards. I mean the back of the box. And this is the inside. So I have the rose petal finish version of the deck, and this is my very first rose petal finish, and I have to say I'm not a big fan of it. It's very soft and velvety, which makes it really hard to shuffle. And I haven't tried the cards, like the fanning of the cards, but I imagine that it would be very difficult. But the artwork is really beautiful. I have really been enjoying the keywords as well. So I'm glad I purchased it and that I was able to get it used. I'm not so happy with the cardstock because of that plasticky rose petal finish. And like I said, this is my very first one with that kind of cardstock, so I'll know next time if I see a deck that has this finish that is not gonna be my favorite. Although I'm not someone who will absolutely say no to a deck because the cardstock is bad. I know some people are very particular about that, but it's not such a big deal for me. So I really love the artwork in this deck, and I thought it was a great deck to use for the spring season. So this will be my Oracle deck companion. I really like this card. And then I purchased this next deck, No. And I saw it first on someone's Instagram page. Their user handle is Crow Sister, and she has a beautiful deck collection. So I often find myself like adding things to my wish list after seeing them in her page. And she just has a really great way of displaying them as well. So that makes the decks look even more enticing. So this is the affirmations for the Everyday Goddess. And it is by Pamela Wells. It is a majors only deck, but the artwork is really beautiful. I pulled the Justice card for my card of the week this week, so I'm gonna put it off to the side. It has this pretty large borders. I had never seen this deck before. She showed it, and as soon as I saw it and I went to look at more of the pictures, I really loved the artwork. And I also loved that there were different ethnicities of people represented. I think you will see here coming up. I don't know when the deck was made. I'll look in the guidebook right now. But it's really beautiful. So it has this gorgeous artwork, the number and name of the major arcana. And then on the bottom it has an affirmation. So this one says, awaken to the timelessness of body, spirit, and soul. All illusions are shattered. I really love this card. Some of the women have that like a ball gown kind of dress looking like. but for the most part, they look, they don't look like they're going to a ball. And I prefer the ones that don't look like they're going to a ball. This is the Hanged one, the Star, the High Priest. I really love this Moon as well. So yeah, this is a nice little deck that I discovered thanks to Crow Sister on Instagram. And at the time I purchased it, it was only $15 on Amazon. I'm not sure if it's still $15, but let me just quickly look here and when it was made. It says 2009. And the guidebook is actually really good. It gives you a lot of information about the cards. I haven't read this first part, but for the cards, it shows you the keywords, the affirmation, as well as a picture. And then it gives you more information about what the card means. It gives you a list of questions that you can contemplate on using that archetype. Sometimes there will be like a poem or a quote, as well as an exercise. So that's one of the reasons why I am choosing one card per week, because I want to sit with the questions that are in the guidebook and really connect with that archetype. So these are the two decks that I'm going to be using. I mean 3 decks, although I might end up using more, because last month I was only planning to use 2 decks and then I ended up using a lot more. So that's that's it for decks as far as I'm planning right now. I did want to share some other things that I have worked with before, but that I'm returning to now after having a sort of a break from them. And one of them is my work with the Book of Houses. I have a video sharing about how I use this book, and I'll link it in the description box. So the Book of Houses is a way for you to plan goals or plant seeds throughout the year using your birth chart as a harvest cycle. So for each of the houses on your birth chart, there is a part of the harvest cycle that corresponds to that house. And right now I am in my 7th house, which will go from March 22nd to April 19th. And the 7th house is the house of pollination. The book will give you more information, but basically it's a time of the year when contracts and close relationships are very important and good to pay attention to. The 7th house is also the house of the companion, which is one of the archetypes of each of the houses. And I think I was working with the book really closely in the middle of the year last year when I planted my seeds, and then houses 1 and 2 I was pretty good at doing the exercises and just checking in with myself. But then in November, December, January, February, and March, I didn't really check in with the houses and where I was at, because I was just very tired and didn't have a lot of energy. So this is something that I'm going back to checking in with more regularly. And another thing that I am going back to is my monthly creativity journal. I have a few videos describing what this journal is and how I use it. And I did a series on my Ko-fi page as well describing how to use it. And I posted the most updated version on my Ko-fi shop as a pay what you can download. So I'll flip through a few of the pages just to show you but I have a video that explains it in more detail. So I was using this journal for the whole of last year. Every month I printed one and used it. Then in January, the first quarter of this year, I didn't really print it out. I kind of let it go by the wayside. And I tried to see if I could incorporate elements of it into other journals, but that didn't work out so well. So since I was getting more energy to do more things, I decided to print out a copy and work with it. And as you can see, there's still a lot of empty pages because it's a monthly calendar, so, or journal, so I will come back to pages and add different things to fill it up. And then I'm thinking that I might continue printing it out for the rest of the year, but I'm also considering making it into a booklet that I can print at lulu.com, or maybe using a composition book and recreating the prompts that are in here in a composition book, because at the end of the year I'll end up with a stack like this big of printouts. And I don't know if I like that way, just for like storage purposes. How will I store it is one of my concerns. But I'm excited to be doing this again. I'm excited to have the energy to doodle and stick some stuff in here. I let my daughter draw some stuff. But I found that a lot of the things that I would check in with in this journal, I was really missing them by not having the journal. So for example, like doing the letter to myself at the beginning of the month, setting intentions specifically for creativity, tracking different symbols that I'm working with, listing the different allies that I'm working with. So there were a lot of things that were in here that I missed. Let's see, I wanted to show you this page. This part here where you can write down the things that you're reading, watching, listening, or experiencing. So I'm going to be doing this journal again. I'll put a link to the Ko-fi page where you can find it if you're interested. Let's see, another journal that I have come back to is this one. This is my writing journal, and I think I started it a while ago, last year, March 2021. And then I took a break from it through those months where I was really tired, and I came back to it in March with some notes from different classes that I was taking. And I just want to finish it so that I can move into a composition book, which is what I'm planning to do for my writing journal. And I'm also planning to combine my writing journal with my learning journal, because a lot of the things that I am learning from videos, podcasts, books, classes are things that will eventually feed into my writing. So it just made sense to have those two combined. And I also have a lot of journals that I'm keeping track of, so if I can combine some of them, I think that will help me more. So this is another journal that I will be finishing up this month, hopefully, and then switching into a composition book. I'm still using my other journals, planners. I actually wanted to show this one, and maybe I'll add a timestamp in case you're not interested in journals and you want to or you are interested in journals and you want to see the journaling part of the video. So this is my Hobonichi Techo, and last month around the 10th, I think, is the first time I drew something. The 9th of March is when I started to doodle and add more images and more color into the journal. So the way that I was, even though it's a planner, the way I have been using it since the beginning is as a gratitude journal. So I write a few things that I'm grateful for, and I will also write down things that I need to do that day. See if I can find a good page. So when I started it, it was mostly just writing. Then slowly I started adding like the weather. Then I was trying to add some more color or like drawings. So every day now I have drawn something, and maybe I'll just flip through a few pages here. I don't even know if you can see it. So the drawings were related to something that happened that day. Like this day I bought a dragon fruit and ate it. This day I went to the city. On this day we were having technology problems. So I have really been enjoying that, and sometimes I struggle to figure out what to draw. So for this week I started using some prompts that I found on Instagram called Illustrate Your Week, and they give you a prompt for each day of the week. So for Monday, the prompt was something that you want to try. So I really want to try jelly printing. So I drew a gel print or a gel plate and a brayer. Then for Tuesday, the prompt was to make a to-do list for the month of April. It's not super colorful, but it's okay. So that's something fun that I'm doing. And I think doing this, like little doodles here, adding color, adding washi tape, and adding stickers, help me feel motivated to print out my monthly calendar and get back to that monthly practice, monthly creative practice that was really nourishing and sustaining for me. Then I'm also using my Hobonichi weeks more constantly, more regularly. I struggle with this one at the beginning of the year with just not feeling sure about what to use it for, since a lot of my like business ideas or classes and workshops ideas kind of I don't want to say fell through, but they just shifted in priority status. So the way I have been using this one, and maybe I'll just flip through a few pages, it's like a mishmash of home to-do list with other responsibilities, and I'm including also when I'm making a video. I'll include like a to-do list for home stuff, for different projects that I'm doing, doctor appointments. I started adding an affirmation for the week, and then I'm adding stickers, washi tape, more like a weekly overview to-do list, and let's see, some activities as well. So I'm excited to finally be using this one, because I mentioned in my last video how I was feeling pretty disappointed that I had spent all this money on these two Hobonichi planners and then I wasn't really using them. So I don't know if using them will continue throughout the rest of the year, but for now I am using them. And well, we're not even near next year, so I'm not gonna think about what I will do next year in terms of planners, but these are the different things I'm using right now for the month of April. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I apologize if things were out of frame here, and thank you so much for tuning in.